Hello and welcome back to Chapter 9, Section 2. We're going to finish the section today talking about communities and symbiotic relationships. Um, Communities, as a refresher, we're on page 320. As a refresher, communities are all the populations living in an ecosystem at the same time. So you might have the African watering hole that I showed you. There was a lot of different populations in that one community at that watering hole. And these populations interact with one another. They have to compete is one of the main ways that they interact for resources, whether it's food, shelter, water. And there's two different types that your book doesn't talk about this, but I think it's important to mention that competition just doesn't happen in communities, but it happens in populations too. So there's interest-specific competition that occurs between members of the same species. So male birds competing for one mate in the area or for mates in the area, they would compete with one another like in the species. And then interspecific competition would be in communities with members of different populations or different species competing for resources. And we're going to talk more about like food webs and food chains and energy pyramids in the next section, but there is a certain amount of resources that we're all wanting. An example of competition that was interspecific lately was the mad dash for toilet paper. We all rely on toilet paper in our day life, and there was a lot of competition within members of our own population or the human being Homo sapiens species. So that was interspecific. Yeah. So what we're doing right now is actually, before we talk about symbiotic relationships, we are going to be on the Dutch phrase of the day, which yesterday, hopefully you wrote down ik ben moe. Here's another way you can respond to hoe gaat het? It's kind of like het gaat goed, or instead of saying good, you can say happy. I'm happy. So this is ik ben blij. Now the IJ makes an A noise. In Dutch, it's weird because IJ would not in English, but ik ben blij. Ik ben blij. So you can say I'm happy. Ik ben blij. Okay, don't forget to write it down for your homework on Friday. It's not in the homework on Wednesday, but I asked for them on Friday, in Friday's homework. So let's talk about symbiotic relationships. Before that, we have two vocabulary words to define before we talk about what a symbiotic relationship actually is. So habitat is like a home. It's the physical place where a population or an organism would live. It's easy to remember this because habitat and home or house all start with H. This next word is fancy, it's French, but we call it niche. I know it's not NITCH, but that's how we say it, niche. A niche is the role an organism has. So where is their place in their population? What is their place in the community? So how does an organism survive? How does it get food and shelter? How does it avoid danger in its habitat? What is its role in the relationship? And then with the community. Symbiotic relationships are one in which two different species live together and interact closely over a long period of time. In symbiotic relationships, one species usually benefits through the interaction, at least one. And we're going to be talking about three main types of symbiotic relationships. So, mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. I'm sorry for the gross picture of the fish. The top right. If you want to, you can just put your hand over that part. So mutualism, imagine that would be two smiley faces. In mutualism, both species benefit from the relationship. So an example is flowers and bees. Bees are able to get food and flowers are able to have pollen spread. I mean, that's tying into chapter 8 right there. So both species benefit. There's this one species of bird that like picks, no, I want to, yeah, that cleans the teeth of the crocodile, and the crocodile gets his teeth cleaned. That's a mutualistic relationship. Um, Commensalism is similar to mutualism, except one species benefits. So there's one smiley face, but the other one isn't bothered or harmed by it. So that one would be like a chill face, I guess. So barnacles and whales is an example of this. Your book gives you the example of a cocklebur containing the seeds of a plant sticking onto an animal person. It can spread seeds over distance, but it doesn't really harm us. But it benefits the cocklebur. Because remember, plants can be populations too, because plants are alive. Don't forget, plants are alive. And the last type of symbiosis that we're talking about is parasitism, where we have a host and a parasite. And so one organism is benefiting, so smiley face, and the other one is harmed, so frowny face. An example of this is tapeworms. So they get nutrients from an animal, but the other animal loses nutrients and gets sick, and fleas and ticks. I'm sure you've heard the word parasite before, but yeah, they're helped and we're harmed. And those are the last parts of the symbiotic relationships. Don't forget to do your homework tomorrow. It should be pretty simple. It's just fill in the blank. So you got this. And don't forget to remember your Dutch word of the day. All right. Maybe I'll see some of you guys on Wednesday. Maybe I won't. But have a great day.